What is the crime? Eating a succulent Chinese meal?
Get your hands off my penis!
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Metal Massacre. We're not hungover this time.
No, actually, I'm feeling 100%. Dude.
100%.
I have a diet soda today.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
trying
on
to
a
be
diet soda game.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm just trying to be responsible. How are y'all doing? I am your czar of gnar.
And I'm the weirdo with the beardo. It's been kind of a crazy season thus far. I think each season of the show has been something completely different. Me and you have walked into this going, well, here's what we're going to do. And every single time it's like we work towards that, but we have so many new surprises.
There's at
along
least
the way.
2 audibles every show, which is, again, just how production of any kind works, I think. But
it's been fun, though, to watch.
Yeah, I've heard, and again, it's one of the best compliments you can get, and because we are only 2 seasons into this. I mean, you and I have been you for the better part of a decade. I've been doing essentially like live music or working on like a microphone or doing for the better part of a decade. But like this was something where like, all right, it's like when like a lot of these bands we were talking with, it was like when we talked with Gore last episode, I believe, that they're like, we've all had bands, but we got us to the point now where we had a plan. And we're like, you know what? We're going to go like, we already have all of the things that you learn for a decade, throw it full force at something and then see what the next level looks like. And that was that's our plan. But we still had a lot to learn. Episode 1, looking back, as I've been told, sounds a lot different to this now.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that's exactly what kind of feedback we'd get, to be honest.
I think we kind of fell into what we wanted to do, and we tried to like limit ourselves in certain ways. Like, oh, let's just do this, or let's just do that. And I think as different opportunities arose, we were like, well, yes, it's good to have a formula, but like sometimes it's okay to circumvent that formula if something is really good. Like, you know, if an interview is really good, then, you know, it should just be the episode on its own. Or if it was long enough and there was enough content there, you know?
That's very true. And we've been able to grab some awesome guests along with, again, the rest of the episode today. You were able to talk with Dale.
Dale from Ocean Grove. I'm really excited for you guys to hear this one. You know, we talk to a lot of people on this show, and I've talked to a lot of people for a while doing podcasting, but you rarely find a person that you actually like are synced up with, you know, and like you feel like, oh, I could be this guy's friend if we weren't just like doing this professionally.
Yeah, sure.
And Dale was one of those guys. So I was really, really happy to talk to him and get into Ocean Grove and find out what they're about. And honestly, I think we had a lot more in common by the end of it than I thought we were going to.
But they were like in Australia. Was that because they're on tour? Is that where they're from?
No, that's where they're from. Yeah.
I guess, again, I was doing research, but every now and again, you can't exactly, it doesn't say, and they're like, they're from here. They're just like, this is our sound and this is our message. So,
right.
No, that's cool.
No, really good interview. That'll be at the end of this episode. Stay tuned for that. And yeah, check out Ocean Grove. They've got a lot to offer. So.
It was a pretty cool. I dig their sound. Yeah. It's modern. It's bright. It's heavy as fuck. It just seems like a wild party. Like kind of like a thing. It's like good music to just like throw on if everybody's into this kind of music, for sure. And just like throw it on in a party, have everybody get rowdy, play beer pong. It's got a youthful energy to the whole thing.
If you're a video game head like us, stick around and you'll see how Ocean Grove is directly tied into 90s video games. I'm not going to say it now, but that was a really fun thing to learn about.
Don't tip the interview.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think this has been kind of a wild ride for us, just kind of still figuring it out. I mean, it's only 2 seasons in. We've done so much, but I still feel like we're having all these meetings and ideas and like, how can we like keep it fresh, you know? And I think that's important to like making a brand or having a show or any of this kind of stuff, is like trying to keep it like, I don't want to do the same thing over and over.
Right.
You know, and every interview I feel like has been different because of the person we're interviewing. And like, we're just there as like the guys to just like run the show and like kind of like steer the narrative around and like get to certain points, but it's all dependent on the other person, you 100%. Know? And like we've done interviews in the past where we're like, God, that was horrible. And only because we didn't like socially link up with this person, or there was no like chemistry there, and it was very against the grain and forced, and you're just like, God, I didn't get a lot out of them. And some people love talking about stuff, and some people are just like, hey, I'm just not the interview guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like you get a mixed bag the longer you do this, but like I get really excited when I talk to people, and the concept of what they're doing is amazing, but also like you feel like they're just like a good person when you talk to them. You're like, You don't get any of that kind of weird like vibe, you know?
Like I said a long time ago, I think in the first season was like, you know, everybody obviously like when you're taking band photos or you're looking at someone from just like a normal person perspective and you're full of tattoos, like a big beard, or like, you know, if you're a girl, usually lots of like heavy makeup and big boots, and like this person generally looks like they might be a dick to me. But that's never been the case. Like not with anyone we've had on the show. Usually when I'm going out in public, just like go hang out, like all those people, I look like one of those people, and I'm super nice, I promise. And like, but like all of us know that, and there's everyone's hugs and handshakes. It's a good fucking time. But like, it's one of those things. We look like rough and tumble people, and I'm sure a lot of you out there again look a lot like us. And like at the same time, though, those are usually the nicest people. Yeah. We're out there, we're open, and like,
I will say I don't think we've run into anybody thus far that's like been an asshole. I won't say that. I'm not saying that by any means.
Not even close.
I'm just saying like everyone's got a different level of sociability.
Well, you just never know when you're going to get into, like,
sometimes you're like super introverted, sometimes you're super extroverted, sometimes you had a bad day, sometimes you didn't. Like, I'm not going to lie. When I did this Ocean Grove interview, I was like not really having a good day. And it was Halloween, and I was just kind of like, man, I'm kind of bummed. There's no trick-or-treaters. Just kind of like a bunk Halloween and watching movies, whatever. Just kind of trying to make the best of it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I got this interview. And so I was like, all right, let's do this.
Let's get into it.
And the interview completely turned me around within like 5 or 10 minutes. And then from that point on, I was just having fun. And like oftentimes I've noticed that whenever I'm like feeling reluctant about an interview, it's a personal thing. It's never about the person I'm talking to. But then 90% of the time when I do that interview, I'm immediately snapped out of it when we just start talking and conversing, because
that's what this is for.
We don't do the typical like, so tell me about your album.
Yeah.
So like, what's your favorite song? And we'll do some of those questions.
You have to ask some of those.
But what we like to do, and I think our goal is to dig a little deeper into who these people are and what they're about, and hopefully find some kind of common ground with them, to where the conversation it ceases to be a conversation, and at that point it becomes something more than a conversation. Like, I can name a handful of people we've talked to, and on the show they're like, "Oh my God, that's a great idea. Yeah, I should do that." You know what I mean?
True.
Or like vice versa, they're like giving us tips and pointers, or maybe we both just come up with some random weird scenario together, almost like you do when you're a kid, you know?
Yeah.
And then you're like, "Oh yeah," and then this happens, like.
Right.
It's like those are the great conversations, and this was one of those ones that I think is going to go on if we ever do like a highlight reel.
Sure.
You know, like we should do that for the holidays. It's just like an interview highlight reel.
In between season highlight reel. I like cool. that. That's a good idea.
See, there you go. Here, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
We're peeking behind the curtain.
But yeah.
No, honestly, that's what we're doing here, is just to like humanize a lot of these folks that are larger than life, because they are. They're rock stars, they're creative types, they're artists, and they're, at the end of the day, they're people. And to be able to like pull back the curtain and not make them feel like they're getting grilled on a presser or have 10 minutes on a radio show or something like that. We want to be able to we have to ask those questions. Like, yeah, tell me about your album. Right. Tell me about your tour. Tell me about your favorite songs on it. But like, why? As opposed to just like, all right, get the grilled questions out of the way. But no, man, like, and honestly, most people are like, again, and when you meet them in real life, obviously, when it's business time, especially because like just this past Tuesday, we played a show with Overkill, which again are fucking legends. But those guys were nothing but nice and accommodating. It's just like when you're doing physical work at a high level, putting on a show, even if it is only an hour's worth of it's 7 hours worth of work. It's the production behind the scenes. It's the sound checking at like 2 p.m, the driving, the changing costumes, being ready, putting on the.
And then imagine that shit every day. You know? Right. It's like your whole day is just logistics.
A lot of people, again, are like, I met this band and they were kind of whatever about it. I'm like, well, it's because, again, they're at work. You got to remember, like, their job is to obviously reconnect with you, and the best will do it the best. But like, you know, no, I try, and honestly and generally, even if I felt completely confident playing with someone of that caliber, of that stature. They're on tour with King Diamond. They're playing 1,000-seat theaters. I'm cool. But I'm still always going to stay the fuck out of the way. Yeah. And just like, hey, what do you guys need to do? Because I'm sure you have rituals. You don't want to be bothered on every single one of these shows. You need to save energy for the people that are paying to be here. But I'll usually make an attempt to like welcome them or say something. But again, and every time I've done that, I've never ran into a bunch of prima donnas. If you do the right things and you stay out of the way, or if you're doing a podcast and you're able to just have a human conversation with somebody, again, these people that's why we're trying to bring larger than life personalities to say it again. We're all just people.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's what the point of the show has really started to turn into. And just from the very first thing that started this whole conversation about 10 minutes ago is like the feedback that I've gotten has been that like, you guys have changed and I think it's for the better. So just to kind of say thank you to all of you.
Thanks,
like,
guys.
We're obviously, we've done this for a long fucking time.
But we're still learning at the same time, you know, like, and I think
by season, whatever, we may have a complete lockdown format.
Yeah.
Maybe
well,
not.
you never know. Yeah. I think it'll be fun to just keep changing the show based on how we're feeling at the time, you know, like just keep doing it as long as it's fun and we're getting something out of it, you know, and like if we can keep mixing it up to keep it spicy, like why not, dude? Like,
yeah, I will say again, since just because it may get back to them, Overkill, you guys fucking killed it.
Yeah.
And again, if you guys, if you're metal fans of any age, you've probably heard the name, you've listened to them at least one time. Their first album was like, of their Spotify, 89. Like,
yeah, they've been around.
They've
forever.
been around, 87. They've been around since like 83, I believe, 85. They're going back in time. Yeah, but they just put out something in last year. That's kind of what they're touring with right now. And again, it just goes to show, like, obviously you can do this for as long as you're willing to put effort into it. And all of those dudes were super nice and they fucking ripped. Live show was phenomenal. Stage show was intense the whole time.
That was a good show.
I can't remember who the guy that was their drummer, because they pulled him in. They were working with him.
Yeah.
So I didn't recognize him. He was newer, but like I don't think it was Static X. The sound guy was like, he was filling in drums for like this band and this band and this band and
crazy.
this. So like that guy's a consummate professional. So again, great show. And again, thanks for having us on there. But not like, even if this doesn't get back to it, I just want to say like, hey, Overkill's still out there ripping it up. So if they come by your town, they're touring still out in New Jersey. Check them out, man. But yeah, dude, honestly, we just wanted to pop in, and that's really what I wanted to say was thank you guys, as always. When we don't have like a big, full, we're going to make you a list or we're going to do this, I just wanted to take a chance to say, hey, we've gotten a lot of feedback. Actually, like the day of that show, I had like 3 people that were fans of the podcast.
Yeah, I saw that on the Facebook, and I was like, who the fuck is messaging?
People are messaging us. You feel free to message us, DM us, get in our Discord, our Patreon, wherever you want to support us. Email the show, like whatever it is. There's all of those are always linked everywhere. You can find us on social very easily.
Yeah,
write us in. We might make it a topic on the show, and either way, we might give you a shout out. But like I said, I just wanted to say there was we've gotten a lot of feedback, and I just wanted to do a check in with you guys and say, hey, we're just humans too. We're just having fun chatting with us. We're playing big shows. We're doing big things, but big things coming soon, guys. like every fucking local band
says. It's gonna be one of those shows.
No, but just honestly, the feedback has been awesome. I'm waiting for the haters. That means we're doing it right.
Right.
But so far, it's been nothing but love, and that makes me feel good because I guess it isn't always that way. And so, thank you guys.
Fucking rule.
But tell us a little bit about Ocean Grove, and let's get into this interview.
Oh, man. I'm not gonna say shit. Let's just fucking get into it. Editor, make it happen. What is going on, guys? You're listening to Metal Massacre. As always, I am Lucian, the weirdo with the beardo, sitting here with Dale of Ocean Grove. Dale, I'm super excited to talk to you. It's been a minute. Sometimes, I do a lot of these interviews. I talk to a lot of bands. A lot of stuff comes across the email. And sometimes you just get that one thing that you give a chance and you listen to it and it just kind of gets infectious to you and it grows on you. And I think Ocean Grove is like this, creature that has now taken shape in my life and is now growing, like taking, I gotta say, I really appreciate what you guys are doing.
Oh, thank you. No, I really appreciate that. I can definitely understand that a person in your position, would get things flying across your desk all the time. So I see that as very high praise for it to stand out in such a positive, infectious way. Dude,
I'm telling you, like I've been listening, especially today. I was just like, okay, the day of an interview, I like to just binge, and what it does for me is it gets me in the mindset of the people creating the music, and like, okay, what am I feeling when I listen to this, and what are the just little keys and notes that I'm picking up on, and the one thing that I really felt when I was listening through just pretty much just scrolling through the Spotify and just hitting random is you guys do this really good job of molding different feelings of different eras of music together. And I noticed in your description, yes, it says new metal and a little hardcore. That's very prevalent in there, but I want to tell people it's not, we're not yelling about hot dog flavored water here.
Yeah.
It's not that kind of new metal. It's got the influence musically, but God, dude, the vocals it's something else. It's very Deftones. I'm sure you've gotten that a lot. Very ethereal and just open, and I'm a really big fan of that. So I just wanted to nerd out for a second and just say, dude, that's cool.
No, that's great feedback, because I think that's exactly what we're trying to do is like we're trying to take all that we believe was really great about the original new metal era, and the groove and the kind of bounce and those sort of rhythms that are very at the core of the music that we write is all very much influenced and borrowed from that era. But then us putting our own spin on it lyrically, and even production wise and sample wise, and the other sort of influences from other worlds that we sort of then fuse into the sort of that new metal groove. That's kind of what then defines Ocean Grove and kind of sets it apart from, as you said, that sort of hot dog flavored water new metal that comes to mind when people sort of hear that word. It's like, no, we're trying to do a bit of a hybridization and create something new that references the past but kind of is forging forward into the future.
If I dare say so myself, I feel like Ocean Grove is the thinking man's new metal.
Yeah, I'll take it. It's
very sophisticated. There's a lot of gravitas to it. When I was listening to it, like, I got jettisoned back to middle school at some points, like 2 or 3 points. I was jettisoned back to a field day in, do you guys have field days in Australia? Like in school?
Like, explain that a little bit. I'm sure.
Okay, so field day is essentially like you spend the whole day outside, and there's activities, and it's like track and field and a lot of that kind of like flag football.
Sure. Yeah.
But as a youth in like middle school, we would do one field day a year where it was just go out on the football field and we're playing games. And I just remember this one kid with a boombox, and he was playing Trapped back in the day before all the controversy and the crap. But God, it was just like a relic of an era. And I didn't so much get Trap vibes, but I got the same vibes I got to listening to Headstrong when I was a kid. And you're just like fully feeling it. So I think you guys are totally on the right track with this. I think you're leaving yourself a lot of room to grow, which is smart as a band. You don't want to come out and just define yourselves all at once with one statement. You want to leave room for further statements. And just looking at the stuff you guys have released, like single wise, I think you're leaving a lot of room there for people still to be shocked. So I think that's smart from just a band's perspective. But I want to know, like, as the vocalist here, like, what are your songs about? Like, what's the general theme to you personally? Because here's the thing. I can go to your biggest fan and go, hey, what's this song about? What that song about? And everyone's going to have their own interpretation, which is beautiful with music, but it's also kind of the curse. But what was going through your head when you guys were writing this stuff?
Yeah, that's always a really interesting question to answer, because we don't necessarily have one lyricist. I'm not just like the sole lyricist of Ocean Grove. Okay. We write a lot of pretty much all our music in a much more collective sort of sense.
Almost a think tank.
The Oddworld collective think tank. Yeah, that's right. And so there's sometimes 4 or 5 contributors on lyrics on a single song. So even though it'll have a general theme of kind of what it's sort of talking about, it's coming at you from multiple angles. And that's why any sort of listeners paying a bit of attention to what we're putting out there will recognize that in the songs they can sometimes take quite sharp turns lyrically, and if you're attuned to that, you'll be able to even recognize when it goes from one voice to another. Even though I'm the one singing all the words, the person behind those words actually changes within the song, which I think is a really cool, unique aspect about Ocean Grove. And so, on this album, a lot of the themes gravitate around the human condition, the human psyche, mental health, life and death. You know, a lot of these things that are quite common within, especially within the sort of heavy metal community, you know, touching on these topics. But I think what really sort of sets us apart is that it's not so much just about getting these things out in a cathartic sense and sort of just like laying them out there like a diary entry. We really like to present things in a way that they can be left up to interpretation and it have a little bit more of that, not so on the surface. So we like to present things in a slightly distorted way so that people can kind of take it how they wish. But for the most part, it's always sort of delivering this slightly obscure kind of idea. And if it's touching on something that's particularly kind of heavy or you know, dealing with something that's maybe a little bit dark or negative, we're always sure to sort of underpin it with something that's also a feeling of positivity and a feeling of hope and presence.
That silver lining almost.
That. Exactly. And that's very important to us too. And that probably, you know, I would, you know, I really like that, you know, new metal for what did you say for the
thinking man's new metal?
The thinking man's new metal. You know, I like to think that's kind of a way of getting to that point. It's like, okay, it's one thing to just to kind of spit these things out and I don't know, talk about partying or just talk about like how angry you are. But it's another thing to sort of present that, but then also be like, and this is how I'm going to rise above it, or this is what I'm going to do about it. And
exactly. And I think I said that without knowing the answer to the question, because it is. I mean, if you think it is the thinking man's new metal, like it you're asking the biggest questions. You know, you're asking these crossroads types questions in life where there's not always an answer. And I think that's sometimes the scariest thing is, you know, we always have the freedom to express, and that's a great thing about our society and about being human. But one of the scariest things as a human is the unknown, you know?
Yeah.
The not knowing is going to be the biggest thing that sets up a lot of people in life to not succeed, because a lot of people just can't handle the not knowing. I am one of those people. When I have to wait on something and it's important, oh God, I'm a mess. I mean, brother, like my wife will tell you, she is the first person to be like, oh yeah, you're in complete shambles over this thing that needs to be decided without you. And I think having a way to kind of air all that out, but not do it in a surface level way where it's just raw, you know, because a lot of times in new metal and in metal, I feel like there's so much expression, but it's so channeled in a raw way. And I am more discussing like screaming music that has its time and place, and I love it. I scream for a band, but I also sing. So like, I think there's time and place for everything, and there's not enough interpretation on this side of the palette for me. There's not enough representation artistically on this side of, I think, new metal in general or hardcore in general, or anything that kind of lends itself to those subcultures. I just don't think there's enough of it. So I think you guys are one of those bands that's kind of like sticking their flag in the ground and doing something that maybe a lot of other people aren't doing, or I should say a lot of people aren't doing in the way that you're doing it. So that's really cool, man. I can't wait to see like where you guys go with this. Do you have any full length plans, or are we just sticking to EPs right now?
Oh, so this what our kind of listeners will have heard up until this point is we've released 4 singles off a upcoming album. Now I know Spotify can be a little bit misleading where it releases singles under kind of a banner of
it's like one single
EP, and it's and it kind of labels it as an EP. So that's not correct. So all the singles we've released so far are going to be on this full length album that is dropping next month, November 22nd. I'm not sure when you're airing this, but November.
Oh, it should be here pretty soon, within November, I believe. So
cool. So November 22nd is the full length album is called Odd World, and that's coming out, and super excited for it, and it's going to be sort of the start of a very big new chapter for the band.
How do you mean? Like, are we talking aesthetics, or are we talking delivery, or is this a philosophy change?
I think it's a bit of all of those things, really. I mean, this is actually going to be our fourth studio album,
Really?
and yeah,
Yeah,
so
because I know
we've been
Up in the Air
going.
Forever. I know
Yep,
that,
yep,
but I'm
yeah,
not
cool.
familiar with everything. I wish I was as big. I wish I was the Anthony Fantano of metal, but I'm not. Okay, so I'm
No,
getting my way to be there. But
that's cool, man. That's cool. You'll hopefully be able to catch up in due time. But yeah, we this will be our fourth album, and we've been tracking along, ticking along, sort of since about 2015, 2016 when we kind of first put out like our EPs and whatnot, and so it's been a really cool journey up until this point. And what makes this album very significant is that it's very much it's actually a return to our roots,
good.
and like where we come from, which
That's
feels
awesome.
really special. We began very much in the hardcore scene here in Melbourne, and that sort of was where we started our journey, and a love for heavy music as teenagers. And then the music started to evolve, and our first album was very much full length album in 2017. It really does touch on a lot of these new metal influences, and we did it kind of in our own way, and that was really our first stamp, and kind of put our name on the map, so to speak, in a much larger way. And then since that album, we then went on to Flip Phone Fantasy and Up in the Air Forever, as you mentioned, and that was very much us sort of experimenting with what we could actually do as musicians, as artists, and within the context of Ocean Grove, and sort of expand the idea. And now that we've gotten to the end of that sort of experimental cycle with this fourth album, it feels like kind of like a fourth chapter, a fourth quarter to a full circle moment where
Okay.
we started somewhere, we've kind of delved, gone off, experimented, and now it's sort of coming back to that original place where we just find for ourselves the most authentic and most enjoyable music that we can write is this sort of sound that you're going to find on this album. Like, this is us writing not only just to our best ability, and to an ability and craftsmanship that's been honed over the last 5 to 10 years. We've just, through experience and wisdom, we've just gotten better.
Yeah.
And that happens for every musician that sort of
For
sticks
sure.
at it, right? And so I think this is just a more polished, more mature version of that first kind of album sonically. I think lyrically and conceptually, I think we've kind of kept things relatively within the same realm. But I think sonically, we're sort of going back to the down-tuned guitars, and it's a bit more sort of darker undertones, and a bit more gritty, and vocally it's sort of a bit more kind of hard-hitting, and that's just sort of, for us, it felt like a very intentional move to kind of be like, okay, we want this to be the summary, the whole summary of everything that's been Ocean Grove, and everything moving forward, and kind of be like that signature defining, almost legacy sort of defining,
that milestone.
album.
That's awesome, dude. It's really, that's a beautiful thing as a band. I mean, you've gotten to go out for so long and make this name for yourself, and find your own groove, and go out and have your yellow submarine moment where you're getting to experiment and do your crazy stuff, and figure out just kind of like the craziest parts of who you guys are. And now it's more of what I would call a refined version of where you started out, but getting to pay homage to everything that came before it. Like, that's a beautiful sentiment. And I don't think that bands get to take that journey too often, sadly.
No,
I don't think a lot of bands get to go out, have their crazy album, go out, try something new, and then have a great return to form with that definition and that refined nature. Like, it's rare. Oftentimes I feel like with bands, you got one or two really good startups in albums, and those are maybe the defining albums of a band. And then for some reason, I just feel like bands, I mean, maybe this is just like a sign of the times, like maybe things are going more short form, but albums just don't go anywhere anymore like used to. Album sales are so different, and the way musicians make money is different, first off. But the culture has changed, that I'm so happy when I see bands continuously put out albums and full lengths and do it on vinyl and go the whole 9 yards. Because I'm a physical media collector. I love VHSs and vinyl and all that, and I'll talk it till the sun comes down. But
hell yeah.
But I love when bands can continue to put out a consistent product and not just go, I think all I'm going to do is put out like 2 or 3 EPs. It's like, dude, you got to have more to say than that. And I don't care if you put a skit in a song or you do an interlude or you do something else to make it a whole cohesive package. But I feel like albums are just one of those things that I feel like should never go away for bands, because there's so much chance there to start over. You're saying that this is your 4th studio album. Like, this is, now you've had that chance to take that journey throughout your albums and come back to that. And I think albums kind of do it more than anything for bands. They're you look back on any of the greats and you're not going to remember an EP. You're going to remember that first album you listened to and how it blew you away. And then you're going to have some controversial take on the next album. Like, albums are such big milestones for musicians that I feel like they're necessary. Yeah.
I'm right there with you, and you mentioned VHS, and I love that culture, and I grew up around video stores my whole life. My mum worked at an independent video store, so like
that's awesome, dude.
That's like at the core of like who I am. Like I love cinema. I love just the culture of movies, and I think you sort of brought that to mind in drawing this comparison, that like an album really is like a full length feature film versus a short film, and which is more kind of in line with like an EP. And so there's only so much you can do with a short film, whereas the breadth, the space that a 90-minute feature film allows to kind of explore the peaks and valleys and have the crescendo moments and get to the final credit scene where you're left being like, wow, what did I just experience? We try and channel that into what we do in creating an album. Like, it's so important for us to create an experience that you're going to go from start to finish, and it's going to be this one cohesive package that takes you on a journey, and you get to the end of it feeling like, wow, what the hell did I just experience in the last 30-40 minutes? Like that was a journey, and I'm so glad that I was just present for that, because that wasn't just a bunch of singles just slammed together and hope for the best. Like that
there's a message.
There's a message there in the bigger picture, and then I think that's the true beauty of albums and the album experience, that for anyone that does still appreciate it, like it's not so much just the fact that it's like, oh, you're more patient, you have more attention span because you can sit through 10 songs.
Right.
It's like no, like the intention of an album really is to deliver what no one single song can.
Yeah.
And so if done right, you're actually you're delivering an idea on a much grander scale. And if it does be a cohesive package from start to finish, like that's an amazing result.
I think that's something I've heard from, like, we've talked to a lot of bands this year. We just started this particular podcast this year. We've gotten to talk to some really cool people, a lot of people from all over the world. And the one thing that I've noticed from the bands that are the tightest and the most cohesive and the most well-oiled machines is what we're talking about right now. It's making an experience. It's crafting something that is bigger than just a feeling, It's even through stage presence, through albums, through even down to album artwork. I mean, interludes, anything that you can add in there to kind of craft this narrative and this whole vibe and experience, the better. Because I mean, that's just good marketing. You know what I mean? Like if you can market something that way and make it into an experience, and like people still watch the original Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween, and they know what's going to happen every step of the way. But why do they keep watching it? Because it's such a great experience and they feel so connected to it. And I think when you guys write music the way you do, where you leave it so open-ended in a way, I think it allows people the opportunity to feel more connected to it. God, I feel like the John Taffer of music right now. Do you know who that is?
No, I don't. But
he's the bar rescue guy on Spike TV that goes into a bar and he's like trying to talk about things like marketing and stuff. But
okay, right.
I feel like that talking about marketing. I feel weird about it, but but no, I think that's just a smart part of music is taking an idea and turning it into an album, or
Yes.
you know, like my favorite. I'm really into like horror and grindhouse movies and slashers, and I love when something like when they come out with the vinyl for the movie soundtrack, you know, that kind of stuff.
So cool.
Like
Yeah.
it just helps you kind of feel more in tune with that content or with that product, you know, and it makes it more of a thing. So I'm always into when bands can craft an experience with their music. And the more we talk about this, the more I'm already coming up with an idea in my head that because I kind of had this idea when I was listening to you guys tonight. I kept thinking, man, I really want to watch Underworld right now. It made me think of the movie Underworld because it's so like just, I don't know, something about like a couple of these songs just really made me feel that. So I'm going to, when your album comes out, I want to try to find a movie that fits best with it.
Wow. Let me know how you go. Cause that's, you know, that's that. I love that. I love that concept that, some artists like for instance you know, Daniel Johns from Silverchair, I know when writing some of his music would have certain movies playing in the background to inspire what he was writing, and we haven't necessarily done that per se a lot, but I think a lot of us being sort of film lovers and drawing inspiration from art, you know, mediums outside of music to kind of channel into what we do. There's no doubt that there's reason why it kind of brings these sort of images to mind. Like obviously certain styles of music have already been associated with these types of movies and soundtracks already, so it does help with that association. But it's funny you say specifically Underworld, because this album's called Oddworld, and like just touching on what you were saying before, it's like curating that experience. Like Oddworld, that's exactly what this is, and that's what this album is all about. Like this term Oddworld has been kind of in the Ocean Grove kind of vernacular for quite
I've noticed.
some time.
Yeah, as I was doing my research, I noticed that Oddworld kept popping up, and I was going to get to this question, but I'm glad you're actually going for it. Sorry.
Yeah, it just felt like the right time to kind of bring that up, because I was like, oh, Underworld, Oddworld. It kind of feels like, maybe that's actually like bang on, because it is very much like we're creating our own alternate universe within, you know, with what we're doing, whether it's in the music videos, the live show. You know, we welcome everyone to the Oddworld. Like when they come to an OG show, like it's like you're now in this dimension that we're creating, and this experience is wholly represented by everything that we do, and it describes us, but it also contains us, and it's a point, it's underpinning everything that we do and gives us a reference point for for everything. Whether it's, how do you describe your music? Well, it's Oddworld music, and sort of, you know, or where is this music video or kind of concept taking place? It's sort of like, well, it's somewhere in the timeline of the Oddworld and the past, present, and future of
that's
Oddworld.
So cool.
And so it's funny that you bring that up, because I think it's very much in line with that idea that it's going much further beyond just being like, this is just another song about like me going to a party and, you know, getting drunk with my mates. It's like, no, this is this is all adding little details to the canvas.
Dude, you know what you need to do? I just want to give you ideas. I think you need to make an Oddworld comic book to go with the album. I think have someone like listen to the album early, someone that you love their art, and tell them like stories of Oddworld. And it could be like little short stories from Oddworld and like an anthology comic book or something. Dude, people would eat that shit up.
That'd be really sick. Yeah, we've done a few little zines and kind of
nice
art, like fan art kind of zines and stuff that are all very like Oddworld inspired, and that's really cool to see, because that's just fans taking what we've presented so far and like putting their own interpretation of Oddworld kind of spin on like lyrics and songs, and I love that. But definitely going one step further and us like kind of facilitating a collaboration of sorts with an artist to sort of bring a new aspect to life alongside all the other sort of
Dude,
mediums is
I might hook
great.
you up with a guy.
Yeah,
Do you
if
know
know
Alex
someone.
Pardee?
I don't know.
Are you familiar with the band The Used
Of course, yeah,
or
yeah,
Flames? He did a lot of
yeah.
the stuff for them. Very like
Oh, cool,
crazy,
yeah.
animals and like monsters and just stuff like that. And when you describe this, I see his stuff in my head. Maybe I'll send you his email or something. I think that'd be cool. You
Perfect. Yeah.
never know, you could do an Oddworld like collab or something.
Yeah,
That's
man.
so cool.
Yeah.
I love that you're creating a world. It's not just, because this is like the next evolution, I guess, of this conversation that we keep coming back to all season long with all these different musicians is creating a narrative and creating an experience. And I guess the next natural evolution in an experience is creating a world or creating a universe. And that you're just taking it to the next level, bro. I love that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's exciting. I think
So
really.
Oddworld isn't just you; it's other people as well that are thinking up Oddworld. But in your little pocket of Oddworld, what are like when you think of it, when someone asks you about it, or you have to like talk about it? What are the references culturally or pop culture wise that you kind of see in your head? I guess.
I think it's. I mean, first off, obviously the term is taken from inspired by, but essentially taken from Abe's Odyssey. Anyone who's familiar with Abe's Odyssey, the game.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. But way back in the day, like video store days.
Totally, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So in terms of pop culture, like right there, that kind of already sort of indicates like had we taken a term from, I don't know, something that's just like in anything to just like some random word to do with, I'm looking out at the ocean right now, but something to do with like boats or something just random, it just wouldn't have really, kind of held as much weight as the term Oddworld does.
Yeah.
So I think anyone who kind of knows that game understands that it is kind of like whack, like it's pretty twisted. I remember playing that game as a kid and kind of being like, it's just like kind of like demented, like
it scared the shit out of me as like a 7-year-old. I was not big into it as a child because of like the graphics scared me, and so I was very easily scared child, honestly. But
right.
I think that's why I love horror so much nowadays. Is it brings you back to that. But that's really cool. I never would have caught the reference, and honestly, I feel stupid for not now because I remember seeing those in the video store when they let you like rent video games and stuff. And now it kind of makes me want to go back and play it. And I'm gonna crack up when I talk to Dustin about it because he was kind of like Oddworld. I wonder what's that? Like what are they referencing? And he's a huge gamer as well.
Sure.
So like we're both gonna be like, wow, that's fucking crazy. But that's really cool. What a fun little 90s Easter egg that I never would have known about.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Now I'm probably going to meticulously search through your lyrics and look for more references and try to put it's going to be you ever watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Yeah.
It's going to be that the Pepe Sylvia episode in the mailroom. That's going to be me like going through lyrics. I'm going to be like, I'm telling you, man, there's something else about Oddworld.
The meme where he's pointing.
It's going to be. That's honestly me with most topics. Like I'm the crazy conspiracy or try to pull stuff together guy. And
love it.
We're actually getting into a lot more of that kind of stuff on our YouTube now with like metal lore and stuff like that. So I'm kind of excited to get into some new stuff there. So
awesome. Yeah.
But dude, I'm loving Ocean Grove. Please keep us updated. If you guys come to the States anytime, I'd love to come see you. I'm sure you put on a hell of a show if this is what you sound like. So I'm super shocked by this. Is there anything else I guess you want our listeners to know about Oddworld or about Ocean Grove?
Yeah. I mean, I guess first off, you can pre-order the album. I highly encourage you do. It's available for pre-order, via Sharptone Records, who we're signed to in the States. It's also available for pre-order, back here in Australia, UK, Europe, sort of worldwide. So you can go to our website, oceangrove.com, oceangrove.tv. So it's OCEANGROVE.tv. That's our website. You'll find all the links there for, pre-ordering the album, upcoming tour dates, everything like that. And then you can follow us on socials at Ocean Grove as well. So it's all pretty simple and neat in that sense. And yeah, November 22nd is when it's dropping, and I hope everyone can kind of tune in for that the week that it does, because it's going to be a very whether people are hopping on just after the last couple of singles that we've released, or they've been following us for a while. We did tour over in North America back in 2018 with August Burns Red, but that's the
Nice.
one and only time we've kind of gotten over there. And so with this new album, it really feels like, as I said earlier, like it's a new chapter, and kind of a one chapter closing and another big door opening for us. So we're really excited to get over, back over and play some shows over there, and meet all the fans that have been just listening us over the years, being like, when are you going to get over here?
Oh, you got to come back, bro. Yeah, you got to come back. You know what that just made me think of? I'm a very when you go to the therapist or whatever when you're a kid, and they're like, what does this picture make you think of? And you're like, I don't know, spaghetti or whatever. Or, just little tests. When you said August Burns Red, it made me go, they're kind of they would be like Hellboy, and you're more like Abe Sapien in terms of like they're the big red, angry, aggressive. And you, again, are the more thinking man's kind of fluid and back in the ether kind of a thing. And I think that would have been an amazing show. How was that? Do you have any memories from that night?
Of course. I mean, yeah, it was a 6-week long tour. We played
okay. I didn't know how long you played.
Yeah. It was, we went for, it was like 35 days. And I think in that time we played like 26 or so shows across Canada and the States. And so,
nice.
That was with August Burns Red, Born of Osiris, Era, and ourselves. So it was a pretty a fucking heavy hitter of a lineup, and the venues that we were playing for the first time over there. Our first show that we played always stands out in my memory because we landed. Our luggage had been kind of lost in transit because it took us 3 or 4 flights to get to Montreal from Melbourne, and it was like a blizzard, like a straight up blizzard, not just, and we just don't get anything close to that back here in Australia. And so not only did we came somewhat prepared, so much as we thought, like for something like that with gloves and jackets and stuff. But because our luggage was lost in transit for that first night, not only did I not have any of my stage outfit, but I had no gear for like that type of like minus 35 type,
dude, they call it the Great White North for a reason. It is brutal.
It was intense, and someone was like, you might not want to stay outside for too long because you'll start to like get frostbite. And we were like, everyone complains about how we have like dangerous animals and stuff here in Australia. I'm like, that seems way more gnarly.
Yeah, that's the thing. Animals you can avoid so much easier, right? I mean, for the most part, you guys have like spiders that are just fucking huge and like just shit like that I probably couldn't deal with. But it was -20 last winter where we're from. I'm from the Midwest, so we get like the brunt of all the cold, and it's just like, dude, brutal as hell. Like there were towns all across the Midwest that just shut down because it was so cold. But yeah, that season is vastly approaching, and no one's excited for it.
Yeah, I bet it's kind of like it's I love North America. I've done quite a bit of separate sort of travels, like kind of road trips and stuff through and I just think it's a very beautiful part of the world, and obviously the white Christmas and kind of snow and everything, that for us it's a bit of a novelty, but when I really put myself in the headspace of like having to live here, and especially that first day landing in Montreal and just being outside, being like, how do people like actively choose to just live here in these conditions? Like this seems a little extreme, don't you think?
Right. They like people in Alaska always say they live there because other people can't. And I'm just like, I don't know how you can. In Alaska, they get that whole 30 days of darkness, and there's no sun for 30 days, and it's that cold. So it's like, oh my God.
I guess, yeah, they value their peace and quiet, I guess.
I guess, geez, or it's a bunch of people on the run. I don't know.
True. Yeah, one of the two.
Well, hey man, we really appreciate your time, Dale. I'm excited for this album. I'm excited to see where Ocean Grove goes. You guys have had this track record so far of like building this universe and kind of laying down the foundations for it. And now we're so close to seeing Oddworld, or I guess hearing Oddworld, and kind of getting a better look. So yeah, thank you so much for everything you guys do. I guess stay in touch and hang out with me after we stop recording here for a sec. Just got some housekeeping. But guys, thank you for listening to Metal Massacre. Be cool, stay metal, and just be good people.